Good evening. We are back with another episode of Corner to Copa. Today is a special show. This is trade deadline edition. We are down to the wire. The Tigers have made a few moves, nothing too crazy, but we're definitely going to get into it. And we are going to stay with you guys for the foreseeable future, possibly up until when the deadline officially ends. But Coach, how you feeling, man?
Hey, it's been busy, and boy, did it really start cooking after Sunday evening, kind of overnight when the first domino fell of our own, that being Carson Kelly. After that, man, there's been a flurry of moves in the last 36 hours, or continue to be moves. We enter the last hour here, 10 minutes into the trade deadline. Uh, some surprising names going more recently, even as of last night, that maybe we weren't anticipating. Teams trying to not just clear dead money or bad money off the books, but also reposition, retool, maybe add some depth to some positions that they think that they can address now versus later. So there's no more teams. Minnesota about 30 minutes ago made it a trade themselves. So now every team in Major League Baseball has been involved in at least one trade so far prior to the deadline here. And there's still a bunch of names being floated out around there, but Carson going for two prospects, a catcher and a relief pitcher. And we did a separate deal yesterday, I believe, last night with the Dodgers acquiring a minor league relief pitcher, Ricky Vanasco, 25 years old, for cash considerations. And then obviously today, just recently at the end of the last hour, or within the last hour, we had Andrew Chafin going to Texas as well. Tigers are getting back minor leaguer, 22-year-old uh, Joseph Montalvo from the Dominican Republic. He's the 39th ranked prospect right now in the Rangers organization. Nothing to necessarily write home about, but he is young. I think he's right around 6'2", 6'3", a buck 70. It's a little lean. Additionally, we get back a little bit more of a minor league veteran as well. Could help rotationally in the Mud Hens. Chase Lee, 25, also relief pitcher, currently unranked, but has spent most of all of this year and most of last year at the AAA level.
Yeah, I think thus far the two names that have gone aren't super surprising. I mean, it's kind of funny that we're strictly dealing with Texas team or the strictly the Rangers, but I think it was a foregone conclusion that Carson Kelly would be on the move. We got some depth to kind of cover his Kelly's absence as we move our other catchers up the system, including Dylan Dingley, who had a two-run double yesterday. So he's already proven to be, thus far to be ready for major league action. But Chafin, all things considered, had a pretty decent year. I think his ERA was around 3.5. He had a few blown saves, but all things considered, he didn't have an awful year. He may have started a little bit slow, but he definitely plays a pivotal role in that left-handed left-handed relief pitcher out of the bullpen who can strike some guys out. But I guess the elephant in the room is obviously that with about 45 minutes left in the trade deadline, we have yet to move Jack Flaherty or Tarek Skubal. I gotta know, what does Coach think about that?
I mean, I think we've talked about it too. Ever really since they pivoted over the weekend, roughly, and they went to Tampa and they got Zach Eflin. I think that was pretty much the indicator that, with as healthy of as a farm system Baltimore has, they were now willing to pull the trigger on the demand that Illich and Harris had set for the return on Skubal, which I think was the right thing. If they didn't want to include Jackson Holiday just because they like him a lot and whatnot, well, then I'm not talking about it anymore. We're done. I'm hanging up the phone and I'm moving on. I mean, that's not even for me. That would have been a non-negotiable, and he only would have been one of two pieces in terms of prospects, because I was absolutely going to want two, ideally three, MLB ready now guys for school, in addition to ideally two top five overall prospects within the organization. But that'd be my going rate, high as it should be. He's a Cy Young finalist front runner right now in the American League, and he's throwing gas from the left side. So it's a rare combination, but I'm not entirely surprised that he didn't go. I knew the asking price would be high, and very much so. Flaherty, this we've also talked offline. It is getting me nervous because we potentially are looking at another, Erod situation all over again. They waited to the last minute because they kept, jacking the cost up for return on it, and they finally found a partner. Erod said, no, I'm using my, 10 whatever team it was, no trade clause he could use. He blocked it, and we got stuck with him. He ended up leaving the team essentially for a while, and we got nothing out of it. So trading Flaherty at this point is the most prudent thing to do. It's the most responsible thing to do, really. Ideally, to get someone that has maybe control for another 2 years with a bat, who's in the lineup right now. That's kind of the benchmark for me for that. I really don't want a prospect back for Flaherty. I want a guy who's doing it and doing it well, to be basically plug right into the lineup right now. Corner infield, possibly even a shortstop that might trigger something else with Baez potentially. Obviously, we're going to have to hold on McKinstry for a bit longer, as much as just the chagrin of some other people that we know, just purely from the depth standpoint. But Flaherty, yes, more surprising as we're coming down the last 43 minutes. Skubal, not really so much, and certainly not in the last 3 days after Baltimore pivoted, because I think we had talked to, I don't know who really the Dodgers could offer to make that kind of trade with Skubal validated for us. So again, from the show the other day, I hope this turns into an extension for him heading into the off season, so they can get him hopefully not at its highest cost peak if we were to wait until the end of the second year. But I still imagine Flaherty is going to be gone, and I've seen a lot of other teams in the last couple hours are now throwing their hat in the ring to try and jostle for an opportunity to send an offer.
So I've heard a lot of different things. I've heard that the asking price is just ridiculous. Obviously, we're seeing some pretty nice hauls by some pretty mediocre pitchers. But I mean, AJ Hinch has went as far as to say that, well, we know that if Jack Flaherty ends up going somewhere else and he ends up going there for less than X amount of dollars, I think it's $50 million, we get some type of complimentary pick that's somewhere in the end of the first round.
It's 33rd pick overall they'd get.
Right.
It's a compensatory pick, yeah.
Right. And then also he even went as far as to say that there's still an opportunity for him to help us win some games and get to 500 to kind of test and see what our team looks like in that realm of things. What do you think about the logic of what do you think is the explanation as of right now as to why it hasn't happened yet, or for all intents and purposes, we got 40 minutes. It may not happen. What do you think is the real reasoning behind that? Is Harris fumbling the bag right now?
The longer we wait, I feel like the more that goes from maybe a lean and a maybe to it feels like a strong probability. Because you mentioned the haul back that Toronto got. in their trade with Houston, but it's like, at the same time, if Detroit's not backing down on what they want, then it may only leave a couple other teams left from maybe a list of like 8 or 9 that are still seriously left in consideration. And it might be a game of, metaphorical chicken. Who's going to blink last wins in terms of who they'd be giving up or the value, perceived value, either direction. And I think there's still some teams in the hunt. And I know there was talks that the Guardians could potentially be involved for Flaherty. You really don't want to trade him in division. You just don't, because if he stays and resigns and they go deep in the playoffs, now you got to see him, 12 times, not say 12 times, but
Well,
you're going to
not
see him
him,
more
but
than, you're going to see him a handful of times over the next year or so, however long he's signed. But if they don't trade him and they don't extend him in the offseason, I think it was an absolute fumble.
yeah.
So it's,
Let's take a quick break. So, talk a decent amount about Flaherty. Are you content with the idea of going into obviously the rest of the year and potentially the next 2 years with Tarek Skubal, with the idea that we had Tarek Skubal and the fact that we might lose him, or his value, will dwindle as we hold on to him and possibly flirt with mediocrity for the next couple of years.
I mean, I think it would only hurt if he continues to do this well and we come up against, the end of his current contract. Now you're going to be paying the most premium dollar to get him back versus potentially this year. And I'll say it right now, unless they somehow get to the World Series in the next 2 years with him under that contract, I don't think there's that much more of a ceiling between where he's at right now, and we'll just say if status quo holds and he wins the Cy Young, that's what I mean, get to the World Series, maybe short of winning it, I don't think there's much higher ceiling between now and 2.5 years or 2 1/3 years from now in order for him to squeeze out maybe an extra 20, 30, $40 million from what he'd be getting right now. So, but I mean, yeah, like you said, mediocrity too. The downfall too is if they don't get better and they extend him, or they think about not extending him. Well, now teams know that they might try and lowball you, and your perceived return maybe takes a bit of a hit in the next 2 years. It's possible. I mean, hell, even injury. I mean, if he has to go get a second TJ,
Oh my
forget
God.
about it. Forget about it. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to put that out there, but there's there's a handful of impactful variables that could either make us pay one way or the other. So it's not necessarily high risk, high reward, but at least they did their due diligence to see what teams with the proper amount of farm system and expendable guys that they have that are young enough, that are in control, that we're willing to offer at this point in time. I think it's a good pulse on the market, and they can use that data going forward if another team tries to reapproach any time over the next 2 years and attempt to maybe Scooble and fleece us a little bit. But at least you're taking calls. I do respect that versus them saying, nope, we're not trading him, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, we had a feeling there you might not, but at the same time, if you don't take the call, you never know what they're willing to offer. So, your perceived value and the next closest team that's willing to part with what they offer might be a huge gap, then you got to figure out how to close the gap somehow. But no, right now I think Scooble's safe. It would take some wild trade for him to go right now. I mean,
At the buzzer,
mul-
man.
multiple players. Hell, it could even include a third team to help even things out if a team's maybe looking to take on some bad money or to cut or dump some bad money. Yeah, and I would think that if they were to do that, I'd be like, yeah, no, you're gonna get Javi Baez too. But yeah, no, it's I didn't think Andrew would go today. I know we had talked offline, maybe it would have been a different reliever, but Carson Kelly had been a hot rumored name for about a week and a half heading up to his trade.
I think we called that I think we called that about a month ago, honestly, as a possibility. And
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah, we
people,
did.
I feel like people laughed. Well, amongst the Tiger community online, I feel like people were like, "Oh, why would anybody?" But he
Yeah,
continued to stay so hot, and you know, yeah, it was and as equally hot as he was, Dingler was just hitting everything in sight. Um,
yeah.
so that one made so much sense. But just to kind of to roundabout conclude just the whole Scooble thing and even Flaherty, I feel like at this point, Flaherty could have been moved, maybe not for the ridiculous haul that Scooble was, but essentially he was the best available pitcher on the market. I see some other guys going for for some pretty steep prices, honestly. It seems like a lot of teams are seeking out some starting pitching, but it would feel so much better to think about the fact that we're not selling. I mean, because the little light selling we're doing right now is very minimal. You lose, I mean, a nice bullpen arm, left-handed arm at that. But Carson Kelly, you cut your losses. He's 30 years old. We have Jake Rogers, and we have a stud catcher that hopefully continues what he's doing. But the fact that we're just getting blanked by the Indians and they're just beating the crap out of us, it's discouraging to see, and I feel like it really hurts our chances of taking. Um, I don't know if it. I guess it doesn't hurt our chances of re-signing Flaherty, but there would be a lot more buzz going on right now if we had at least split with the Indians and it appeared we were going somewhere. I hope that we're not going downhill in the bad direction, but we're kind of back to not scoring runs. We're about to play a Royals team who's very tough, and I mean this is our homestand. This was a big homestand for us to make some ground against some divisional opponents, and we can't buy a run. Did we score today?
Nope, we got blanked.
I thought we got Oh yeah, yeah. We got blanked today. We scored a couple garbage runs. Because it was 8-0 yesterday, and I think that we brought it back to 8-4. But for all intents and purposes, the Indians kind of did us bold this in that felt like a long 2 games because Ramirez seemed to hit a home run about every other at bat. He just let us have it. But
Yeah, I mean they're 14 games back in the division now. They're now 7 games back on the last wild card spot, despite the fact that the Rays are better record wise and have sold damn near everyone in their organization over the last 3-4 weeks. Eventually they'll fall out, but you
yeah,
look at all the other teams, the Twins, the Guardians, the Royals made a move for a bullpen arm today. All the other teams ahead of him made moves to get better. And sure, Carson may have been an expendable piece. I mean, Chafin was a left-handed specialist essentially. Obviously we were able to bring up Dingler. If we trade Flaherty, we don't really necessarily have an option. I should say a bona fide option to fill his spot. Um, yeah, they're not really, and with the injuries that they've accumulated over the last 2 weeks or so, and still lingering over the last month. I think the amount of players, and specifically the players that went out, made the most sense so far. And also kind of breaking, Erie scratched
How you leave?
How you Lee tonight. So hold on to your hats there, ladies and gentlemen. You know, with half an hour left, you don't know
I
what
don't
could
know.
happen
I don't know
quite
what that
yet.
means. If you're moving how you leave, that's got to be a buy move, or he's moving up to moving up to AAA, because I can't see any scenario where you move your best is he our best infield prospect outside of Kevin McGonigal right now?
Was he first base?
No, he's second and third. He's not a shortstop, but I want to say he plays in the infield.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's space there at third and second, because he sure as hell was going to play first with Spencer Tantrum Torkelson.
Yeah, actually, let me hold on. We're gonna take a break and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at how you Lee. I butchered that spelling, but they found it for me. So yeah, first of all, he's 21 years old. Wow, he's really young. He's 21, already in Double A. He's having a great year. He's hitting about 300, nearly 300, 200, 12 home runs and 54 RBIs, 16 steals. That's 5 tools if I ever saw one.
Sorry, there was the Orioles made a trade for a different pitcher, right? And it included some guys that we had known that would have been in the trade for us if it was Scooble. But the Orioles traded Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers for a guy who is a 4.92 ERA since 2022. And then the comment underneath was, getting Jack Flaherty might actually require giving up your firstborn child.
Yeah, no, seriously, because Norby was definitely a name, and I looked at Stowers' numbers. His numbers were pretty good, and they're both. I want to say they're both AAA guys, or guys that are close to the, to a point of being a part of the, So I got to think that unless the Tiger Scott Harris is just pissing people off, or he's just being terribly stubborn. I think
part of this too, though, is there's been multiple teams within, Kansas City, Minnesota, and Cleveland were all making some moves, albeit Twins late. But the Orioles and the Yankees have been making moves almost kind of in conjunction with each other. So with the Orioles getting yet another starting pitcher and forking over a few pieces of their farm system, I did read this earlier, though, too. Like, this could actually turn up the heat for the Yankees to really have to give up a quality piece or two, even, to get Flaherty. So, I mean, I think it could be the other part, because Milwaukee was hot, too, for a moment as of last night. They came in. There was a lot of buzz about them trying to make an offer. Didn't seem like it was all that close. So it's, I guess I'd be frustrated too if they come out and say, like, oh, we're going to re-sign him and we're going to build around these two and Olsen heading into next year, essentially. Obviously, I would assume Joe being the fourth starter, fifth TBD, but I'm like, if that was the case all along, why didn't you just say you weren't going to trade him if you just set the bar so ridiculously high just to re-sign him? Like, I don't get that exercise. So I know
you don't get the exercise of setting the bar high to sign him.
No. I mean, for trade.
I mean,
the return on the trade would have been viewed as so slanted and biased or in favor of Detroit that everyone just didn't do it. But then they're going to go out and spend the money to re-sign him.
I mean, I guess there's always a price. Everybody has a price. I mean, I think there is a a point to where like, okay, well, we can't turn this down. But I don't know. I don't know. I just really hope that they have some inkling, because I would certainly take Stowers and Norby over a 133 33rd pick in the draft. Um, if
Yeah.
that option was on the floor, I wouldn't care what position those guys play, because those are two guys that would be able
Yeah,
to.
but remember the benefit, and we've talked about this too, with their inability to develop draft picks on a regular basis. You're essentially be trading Flaherty for an unknown at 33. Not
But
a guy that's probably not.
that's why you get two of them. That's why you get a couple of them, knowing that one might fall flat. Two might fall flat, but you give yourself a chance at least.
I think that's why but that's why I feel like you need to go for an MLB now for MLB now guy, like a 1-to-1 trade, a guy who's in the lineup, a bat that we could control for maybe 2 more years, if not through next year, and have at least the ability to sit down and try and extend if we like him enough. I mean, obviously you would have to, otherwise you wouldn't make that trade. And you've got some, actual numbers and video to look at of him against pro players now versus, all right, let's hope and pray that he doesn't end up being a guy that can't make a throw to the base and he's got to find another position. It's they whiff on a lot of prospects. They just have. So, I mean, it would be less of a burden almost, as weird as that to say as a fan. Have to sit there and wait on that prospect to develop down there and produce versus a guy that we can look at and say, okay, I think he fits nicely. Might need to tweak or work on some things, but that's what the coaching staff's there for. I don't. The prospect route would be more suitable for Scooble in addition to MLB now guys in the lineup versus Flaherty. I feel like it should be a 1-to-1, one starter for one starter.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, ideal starter for starter is it works. Would be nice because you're not really taking that gamble. I don't know if they do that with a rental player like Flaherty unless they plan on re-signing them themselves. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I guess it's just discouraging that you hold Flaherty out in the midst of all this, and then you lose.
That's the thing I was going to mention too. Go ahead, though.
And then ish the proverbial bed with a yet another bullpen game. Those are just like you said. You gotta chase those games with a heavy drink because they're just hard. They're just hard to watch, and it doesn't help that the offense has just completely. I mean, I understand. We're missing two of our best power hitters. No, two of the two best power hitters from a lineup that already didn't have much power and much protection. So it's understandable that things are happening like this, but at this point, if we're not playing to win games anymore, then it's not. Then I'm ready to see Jace Jung and see what Andrew Navigato can do because he's having an amazing year. And obviously Parker Meadows should be back hopefully by the weekend, I'm hoping. And hell, Spencer Torkelson. Why not? Why not give him one?
Why?
I mean, because
it didn't work before.
He's never come back. He's never returned.
It didn't work this year.
No, I'm saying that to give him one last. What do we have to lose? Well, I'm sorry, Bly Madris seems like a solid first baseman, but is it going to kill him to go back down to AAA and for us to give Spencer Torkelson? I mean, I don't want to say that we owe him that justice, but you might as
we don't owe him a damn thing.
Of course not, but why not? Why not give that last ditch?
Because the obvious elephant in the room.
So you're ready for him. So you're ready for him to be gone. You don't.
I'm done. I've been done. We got demoted. Bye. Your
He got
your
demoted
name,
one
your
time.
name and
We
number
rushed
ain't coming
him.
back.
How old is he? How old is he? Because
He's
I
gonna be
really feel like
25 here.
let me see. Because
I'm done. He signed a 1-year deal for less than $750,000 on a prove it deal, and he couldn't hack it.
yeah, he's
And he's
24.
down there in the minor leagues throwing temper
You say he
tantrums
couldn't.
with
You say he
coaches.
couldn't hack it. No pun intended. But he did have
For what? The half of last year and the first
But it
part, a
was
little bit of this
but it
year.
was a damn
That's
good.
it.
It was a damn good half of the year.
Okay.
And nobody on the
Did
team,
we go to the
including
playoffs? No.
that's not his fault.
Did it do anything to us other than lower our draft number in the order?
I mean,
Pressure was on last year. He delivered. We expected
he
him to
delivered.
deliver this year, and after the first 6 weeks, he just absolutely bottomed out.
And you're willing to cut everything. Now, granted, he didn't have great years prior to that good half of year, but you're willing to just cut your losses, wipe your hands of the entire situation
If
based
you're
off
him,
based off of 6 weeks of the beginning of the season.
It took him that long to get here as the number 1 overall pick.
How long did it take?
About 2 years?
That's how long do you think Max Clark's going to take to get here?
Because in the AL Central, his division is ass. It's been ass for years.
Not this year. Not this year.
You're right. And guess what? He can't do it. He couldn't do it when they were good.
He probably we didn't start playing AL Central opponents until now.
If you're Torkelson, whether you get called up or not in September, are you really going to consider coming back and re-signing with this team?
What? Because he's upset about being sent down?
No, about re-signing. At the end of the year,
he can't go to. Do you think he has an opportunity? He's going to get a minor league contract on most competitive on any real baseball team. Yeah. Maybe the Marlins will take him because they're selling everybody right now. But outside of that, he's
getting paid no matter what. No matter where he finishes, he's getting his salary. That's not
his little 700,000. But I'm talking about in the future.
Yeah.
Do you foresee him going somewhere else and just
there
walking
could be a team that
in?
offers him a minor league deal with an invite to spring training? Yeah.
We wouldn't offer him at least a minor league contract.
Hell no! Why?
Because look at some of the dudes we're paying right now. Zach McKinstry's making the same salary.
The dude refuses help in AAA right now to change his swing.
We don't know that for certain.
He won't talk to the media. He will not talk to anyone. You want that kind of guy in your locker room next year? I don't think so. That's not a professional. It's a young guy who's struggling, and he's finally had it, and he's acting out.
Tantrum. Okay. All right.
It's not like he's throwing a chair across the room or anything, but.
Well, yeah, we also don't know that, but we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're almost pushing up on the deadline, so we can probably wrap this up because I do have
gotcha
obligations. Here we go. Okay. So as we wind down with the trade deadline, the Torkelson situation got a. I mean, it is what it is with Torque. There's no. I don't know. If anybody, I need some more feedback on that. Maybe everybody's on the same boat with you. We just washing our hands of that situation, but. With the rest of the year coming up, what do we got? About 40 games? I don't even know how many games are left.
Probably let's see here. They're 109 in, so 53 left.
53. Okay.
53 games left.
What are you looking forward to? Is there anything? Are you even going to watch the Tigers for the rest of the year? Well, no. You got a job to do. You have to watch them. But is there anything to look forward to with the remainder of the year, being that we are pretty much all intact outside of the two guys going to Texas? for the remainder of the 50 games.
I mean, obviously, you want to see Scooble close it out, win that Cy Young. I mean, that's obviously going to be a big piece to rally around. I think it'll help on the surface with, veteran free agents that are in the market. And now suddenly maybe this team looks a little more attractive with the younger core, a guy who's coming off his full, first full season pitching, healthy, dominant. Guy looks like freaking Randy Johnson out there, just not the height. You've got a young catcher who came up with a veteran guy. You've got some pieces in the bullpen. We'll say for now with Flaherty until he gets traded. If they include him in the next year and they somehow resign him, you got three legitimate potentially number ones. Reese Olson has been flirting between like a 1A or 2A kind of starter before he got hurt. And Parker, I think this is with him and Colt, what Colt's been able to do. If Parker can kind of mirror that down the rest of the way here when he comes back and he's healthy and finishes with respectable numbers, I really think you're only going to be maybe 2 or 3 bats in the lineup, obviously assuming that Gio, Andy, and Mark are all gone. You're only a couple bats away and locking those guys up, not on 1-year deals. You ain't going to win like that. You're going to have to go out and offer some 2 to 4 year deals to some of these guys. Not all of them, but 2 to 3 for sure to give some stability and continuity in the lineup. And obviously to build chemistry. But suddenly this team looks like, a slightly, maybe a minor or just a step below version of Baltimore, potentially. So they could be knocking on the door here in the next year. It just depends on, is Illich going to spend money or not? Is he going to commit not just to Scooble, but if they keep Flaherty, they're going to re-sign him, which I think would be a no-brainer. But now you're talking about an owner who's been fairly, cheap over the last few years. I know we spent money on Keith, but eventually these core guys are going to start to get paid. So we'll see. Parker, Dingler, and obviously the Scooble race for Cy Young. I think those 3, if Flaherty does go, would be my top pieces to watch for the final 53 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making it too crazy, but yeah, I'm ready to see the young guys get opportunities to play on a daily basis. I'm not, Gio's a solid defensive player. He gets the job done, but at this point, I could care less about seeing him or Canna really playing too much. I want to see a heavy dosage of Malloy, Meadows, Dingler. I want to see us possibly see what Jace Young has to offer when the rosters are expanded a little bit, even if it means cutting our ties with Zach McKinstry, because there's just no way he can be on the team next year.
Orioles are acquiring White Sox outfielder Eloy Jimenez.
Okay,
That's a big piece, actually.
I thought you were gonna say Robert.
Lewis Robert.
Yeah. I want to see the Andy Navigato guy get an opportunity. But yeah, at this point, we're not playing for anything from what I can see. I think that they'll play it safe with Kerry Carpenter. We probably won't see him for the rest of the year, although I guess I'd welcome the opportunity to watch him play some games down the stretch. And hopefully Riley Green's situation is minor, which I think it is, but you never know with him because he's historically had some injury issues as well. But it looks like it's kind of a quiet, boring trade deadline for the Tigers. We'll just have to see what transpires. Obviously, we'll get more. We'll down the line as we get closer to the off season, we can talk more about what they'll end up doing with Flaherty and stuff like that. But that'll pretty much do it. We knocked out a pretty nice show, 40 minutes. If something crazy happens between now and 6:00, I definitely will. I'll probably rope Coach onto tackling that story with me. But I'm thinking that there's not going to be much going on for the next 10 minutes. But yeah, please subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube for all visuals, Corner to Copa for all audio, and yeah, just stay tuned because any roster updates, any news, we'll be providing to you as it happens. Coach, any parting words?
As of right now, the Yankees seem to be the hot team for Flaherty. It's all a random Padres tweet, but as of right now, if it looks like it does happen in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and technically an announcement could be made after the 6 o'clock hour, as long as they have a preliminary agreement, then
Right.
they can go ahead and work on details after. But I really don't see the Padres being a buyer in that situation. They're already looking at maybe on possibly even getting Snell back, which would be a bit more potentially. But we'll see. We'll see. I know a lot of people from the Yankees are popping off on Twitter right now asking for Flaherty to be their savior now that Garrett Cole went down.
Right. And Troy in the building. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Troy?
But yeah, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Ben
Stay
Verlander, 50 seconds ago. The Tigers seriously don't trade Jack Flaherty in this insane sellers market, then I honestly don't even know what to say.
Yeah. We have a few others. We're just waiting on others before we accept one from Flaherty. Troy says I'm thinking. So everybody on audio can hear. I'm thinking we have a few offers. We're just waiting on any others before we accept one for Flaherty. Well, it's gonna be at the buzzer.
It's going to be this team or almost none at this point. I feel like everyone else has made one, if not two moves already by now.
Yep, and he says after seeing the return for Kikuchi, we should get a decent haul for Flaherty. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I was seeing that too, but at the same time as well, it's like how many clubs have that type of quality package to put together for a higher end pitcher, we'll say. So we'll see. We know the Yankees like to trade and they like to spend, so I'm kind of hoping that
They
works
hit the
out. Even though,
jackpot with Jazz. He's got 2 home runs, including one with Judge's bat.
oh my
Aaron Judge's
goodness,
bat.
and I saw briefly too last night that was a Gleiber, who's a second baseman, refused to move, even though he leads the league in errors at the
Yeah, he's horrible.
position.
Yeah, it's like
He's terrible.
okay, but yeah,
Oh
but
my
they thought the
god.
Jazz would be the culture um the fit that wouldn't the Yankee culture clash. So
Yeah,
so
Troy,
much for that.
that last comment. Yeah, we mentioned that as well on the show the other day. This very much may end up being like an Erod situation, albeit Flaherty doesn't have a no movement clause in his, so
Right.
that
Which
would make
would make it worse.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Flaherty. I don't know.
It
Flaherty.
it this only makes sense if they re-sign him. If they don't re-sign him and they only get the 33 overall pick, I will be I will be fairly I will be extremely upset. That'd be the worst case scenario versus not trading him, getting something, or not trading and then re-signing. If they re-sign him, whatever, I'm in. I'm in on that rotation, and we got 3 great pitchers heading into next year. So we'll see though. We'll see.
Yeah, which is something to look forward to, because you just got to spend a little bit of money to improve in the Geo and Cannons of the world, and then you got to find a spot for Jace Young next year. But we're wrapping this up. Please subscribe to all those places. We're bringing you everything as they happen, and we'll be back with some more player profiles too as well.
Quickly, as
Yeah.
we're on the way out, in addition to Los Angeles Yankees have increased their offer to Detroit for Jack Flaherty in the final minutes. Tigers are
Oh,
exploring
come
their best
on.
return in regard to young prospects. So, like I said maybe just a minute ago, there could be a temporary primary agreement, and they're
That's
just working
already
out the minor league players to finalize it.
let's
So that's as of 40 seconds ago.
let's get it going, man. Damn.
Yep, because both Flaherty, Blake Snell, and Garrett Crochet are the highest pitchers that are still left in the market right now that all figured would be moved. Maybe not Blake because he had a horrible start to the year, but he's been really good the last handful of weeks.
Yeah, it's getting traded left or right. Goodbye,
Foreshadowing, Troy. I like it. I like it.
Jeez. Well, I'm just gonna wait. I guess I can wait till my
Yeah.
I'll just wait when they hit me up. Hold on. I'll be let me check. I'll be right back. Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
pulling up. All right,
Yeah.
folks. If something comes up, we'll resume this in the evening in a couple hours. But yeah.
No, that
Signing
can't
out.
be right. Now I'm seeing something about the Dodgers. Agreed.
Agreed on
Okay.
what?
Dodgers potentially. No, that's not Jack Flaherty. Never mind. Okay, someone fudged it up. They're getting Kevin Kiermaier, but it wasn't Flaherty. I thought everyone seeing was going to be Flaherty. We'll see here. A couple minutes. Take it easy, guys.